All right, y'all, part two. So like I said, a turn of events is always happening in my life. I swear to God, I can't run from it. We at work one day, minding our business. We go through the whole shift. We get off. We locking up. We going out to our cars, which is parked behind Zaxby's. As I'm getting ready to get to my car, and he's already at his grandma Keith's, a car pull up. It's his baby mama. She tweaking out, talking about some damn, oh, you out here talking to these other girls. You out here doing this. You out here doing that. Like, she wasn't real loud and ratchet and ghetto with it because she was sitting in her car. She was just like, nigga, my issue is with you, which I respected up until I couldn't respect it any longer. So did y'all think that made me stop talking to him? No, I don't know what it is. When people get to doing shit that I feel like I could get a rush from, I'm gonna do it because now I need that rush every time. And if that means dipping and dabbing with you behind your baby daddy, then so fucking be it. So anyways, y'all, we never ever stopped kicking it. We actually started to kick it more. We started having more conversations about how she would just trip over simple things, or how she would get mad because their work schedules wouldn't align, or how she was trying to do this but couldn't do that. He knew she was cheating, but she said she wasn't cheating. Then when he get out here and start talking to other people, which I didn't know that we was talking to each other, but I'm delusional. You know what I'm saying? The delusion that's not the delusion. It just happens in relationships. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So he's spilling all of this to me, and I'm like, dang, man, I never ever do that. And honestly, with my first baby daddy, I never ever had a reason. Yes, I had a reason to be insecure and act all crazy, but I never really had a reason to, because he would beat my ass so motherfucking much. I just really hope you never ever come home again. I just hope you pay the bills from wherever you at and you ain't never got to come back here. I don't care what you're doing. Somebody else got your attention off of me. But anyways, back to the story. So he venting to me about these situations and things of the sort, and I'm sitting here trying to insert myself into the situation. At this point, if she can't love you right, baby, let me do it. And it was never because I just knew a person, knew their personality, where they was going in life, if they had a savings account, if they had any goals or aspirations for the future. It was because your face looked cute to me, and I feel like we would be cute standing next to each other. But the killing point was, y'all, I was never, let me get a picture real quick. I was never really cute. Like, I used to have all this bullshit on my face, the thick ass eyebrows, thinking I was popping my shit. And before I got my teeth done, let's not even talk about that. So you telling me about what you're going through and I'm offering myself as a sacrifice, then you know we could really make this thing work. But even me just hinting at it, I didn't think he was really going to kind of grasp onto the concept while still holding on to the lingering of his baby mama. So y'all, our relationship just pretty much grew. We had our ups and downs. I had my moments where I was questioning where he was and who he was with, why he was coming home late, this, that, and the third. When you come home, you had a jar full of Reggie talking about, can you help me and can you roll up some this, that, and the third? Like, I always had my spiffs, ifs, and ands of what the fuck may be going on. But I never ever just like let it get me to the point where I was going to spiral out of control. And I guess he took advantage of that because like, oh, if you ain't go crazy because I'm out here in the streets, shit, I'm going to just do what I do and I'm going to just make sure to not get caught. No, what he did know is I'm in my mind, I'm working a whole nother, I got some other ass shit going on I don't even need you exposed to, because anybody that approached me, I just automatically assume that you innocent. I assume you ain't never did nothing wrong. And then if you understood that the tools, the knowledge, all of that I had and that I possessed and that I could utilize to just take us so far in life, you'd be like, bitch, I don't think I want to be next to you. So I kept a lot of that shit on the wraps. I'm talking about finessing people out of cars. I'm talking about going and robbing people for $4,500. I'm talking about all across the nation, you know, just doing all this other shit that I would get arrested for at weird, sporadic times. I didn't want nobody to know about none of that shit. I don't care. Now, I don't know the entire details about their relationship, but 1 + 1 = 2, and they broke up not even a week later. He came to me talking about, man, that bitch put me out and stuff. His car was full of all his shit. I mean, I'm talking about Jordans. I'm talking about all types of designer ass shit just sitting in his car. Just in the car. I was like, oh, so like, what, like, what's the plan from here? He told me, well, you said, you know, that I crashed with you. Now, I didn't think it was gonna be like a real thing. Like, I'm saying, like, if you come over here, you stay the night, you go on about your business. Like, yes, I'm 100% sure about the kids. Like, if she come over here, y'all drop off at the door and run off. She gonna have a bed to go in there later. She gonna have some food that she gonna be able to eat. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, I gave in, y'all. I decided that I was going to let him come and stay with me. He moved in, put his little stuff all in the closet. It was just starting to get a little congested, but I was kind of liking it. Like being able to come home and lay next to somebody. All right, cool. So while me and him are building this relationship, I start going around his mom more. I went and visited his grandmother. I'm meeting all types of people that in the hood, like you introducing me to gang members or slang members or whatever these people are. You telling me all types of lingo, this, that, and the third. It's just a lot, right? Up until one day, y'all. We at his mama house. We chilling. We minding our business. It's getting real late in the night. His mom said that they had to go to work or they had something to do the previous. I don't freaking know. But it was me and him, and I want to say one of his kids. It could have been both of his kids. I don't freaking know. But we walking down to the car. His car's parked on the street because she lives up a hill in this big old nice beautiful house. As I'm getting in the car, I'm putting the baby bag in the car. A car pull up behind us. See y'all in the next. All right, y'all, part 2. So like I said, a turn of events is always happening in my. All right, y'all, part 3. Told y'all it was not cute. Look at my teeth. Oh my God, like, So we walking down from his mom's house to the car. He got his baby. I got the bag. Going to the car. Mom stayed at the top of the hill. When I get down to the car, open the car door, putting the bag behind the driver and passenger seat, right there in the middle. He putting his baby in the car. Simultaneously, while all of that is happening, a car's pulling up behind us. I don't expect anybody. I don't even live here. So I get in the car, I mind my business. As I'm getting in the car to close the door, the baby mama just levitated out of nowhere. Girl, what is you doing here? We trying to live life. Move. So she come around to the side. She opened the door. She getting ready to get her baby out of the car. Now, what ticked me off was not you getting your baby. That's your child. It was you picking up that bag when you swung it around and hit me across my motherfucking head and then brought it out and put it on your back as if you didn't do it. I saw it and I opened my door, but my baby daddy was getting in the car. He was like, close the door. You ain't have to hit that girl like that. Now, he could have said a little bit more, but hey, you acknowledged this, so I'm cool. She getting out the car. She talking her shit. He get out the car. He popping his shit back at her. So they going back and forth. She done made it to the car. She putting the baby in the car. I'm standing outside the car again. He told me, Cheryl, get your ass in the car. Get in the car. And I'm like, damn. Did my daddy just step into the chat? But I got back in the car, y'all, because like I said, I was probably scary. Couldn't fight, wouldn't fight back then. So they out there yapping, going at it. She walking all up on him, all up in his face, this, that. Mom's at the top of the hill, like, nah, y'all ain't about to do this. Go on now. Pookie, get in your car and go. Misha, get in your car and go. We not gonna do this in front of my house. No, man, we not. So while she's sitting over there saying all of that, she's still all up in my baby daddy face. She all up in, right? So she done some type of way maneuvered her way around. So she in front of his car. So I'm just watching this whole entire scene go down. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And I mean, it's not like physical yet. They just going hard at each other, like word wise. She mad because I'm in the car. He telling me, you can't be mad because that girl in the car, me and you not together. Like, mama, see, this is shit I be talking about. Like, they just got a whole little escapade going on. And I'm sitting in the car just watching this shit. Tina told me to get back in. So she done said something that'll piss this nigga smooth the fuck off. I really wish I remember. But he's standing there over the car thing. She talking. She done ran up on the car. All I see is douche. He swung. I'm like, oh, did you just swing on your baby mom? Did you just, his mom coming down here like, no, you didn't, Bubba. You ain't about to be swinging on nobody. You know better. I'd have taught you better than that. Like, she ain't playing no game. Get your ass in your car and go. Make sure get in your car and go. And then quite naturally, she apologized. She was like, baby, I don't know what's going on. You should be in the middle of this. They just need to go in their separate ways. If y'all gonna be done with each other, be done with each other. If not, then figure something out. Like, she was not playing at all. So Pookie get in the car and he like, man, she over there mad as shit because you in the car. Like, how the fuck you gonna be mad? Bitch, you left me. Like, he going crazy. Now, y'all, while he driving and we leaving his mom's house, I noticed that there's a car behind us, and everywhere we go, that car is right behind us. Now, he catch on after the fact because he just driving. He pissed off. He mad. He talking his shit. He look up in the rearview mirror. He talking about, what the fuck? So he speed up. He make a left. And the car behind us is doing the same thing. So he floored, gone. And I'm like, yo, we can't be doing this type of speeding in Shreveport. Like, in my mind, I know I got some shit going on with my life. You can't be fucking with my life, but I never said anything. But the entire time he's speeding, the car behind us is just flying as well. He told me, I know damn well that ain't my baby mama following me. So he get on the phone. He calling his mom like, mama, man, Misha out here following me. She talking about, Pookie, what? Misha out here following me. Like, he sounded scared. Like, what the fuck is she gonna do to us that you sound scared that you on the phone with your mama talking like this? So she'll be like, Pookie, come on back to the house. He's telling me, nah, mama, I'm trying to get home. I'm trying to get this girl home and everything. And Misha out here playing. Y'all, we pull up to a red light. And I'm like, we can't run this red light, not in Shreveport, because while we out here chasing somebody, being chased by somebody else is doing something else crazy. We run through this motherfucking red light. Commercial break real quick. My Smile sent me a oral water wet dental flosser. It works good, in my opinion. They sent me 2 on accident. This is for children. You can do 5 different modes. My bad. Children, soft, pulse, normal, and strong. Strong is for you motherfuckers with all that extra shit running around there in y'all gums that you know regular floss ain't gonna get to. Get you one of these and put it on strong. Okay, this is a good alternative to regular floss. For those of y'all who be cutting y'all gums and shit, yeah, get this because it'll glide on up in there and it'll do 10 times more than what regular floss does. Yes, it does hurt if you do it the wrong way. If you sit there and stab yourself in the back of your throat with this motherfucker water pick floss thing, you're going to feel it for the next few days. But anyways, I feel like it's a good alternative. All those toothpick things with the floss on them, I just use them for toothpicks now when I eat some type of meat. But anyways, if you want to get it, you can get it right here at the orange shopper card below. Back to the story. We good as motherfucking dead. So we pull up to the red light. We thinking she gonna stay behind us. No, she get beside us. The moment that motherfucker turned green, she took off. So I'm sitting here like, what the fuck is going on? And why the fuck are we being chased by your baby mama? He couldn't answer the question. I couldn't answer the question. I'm 100% sure it was because she was pissed off that he was talking to me. And she probably had that little click back of when she pulled up to Zaxby's and she never said nothing to me because I was walking to my car and he was walking to his. She probably remembered my face. But I'm like, look at me. Who am I to be sitting here chasing your baby daddy down behind? Just let your baby daddy blow off his steam and then he'll be back to you. Right? Ain't that what y'all niggas be doing, ugly girls anyways? Because I promise I'm a part of the ugly girl category because I feel like niggas be coming my way. They think they about to get a little two-piece and then go back with they... not happening. So I continued dealing with the nigga. Point period blank. Didn't run away. He started taking me more over to his grandma's house. This is his grandma's house that we're in. She started spitting game. She started telling me, like, don't be letting him tie you down. Pookie don't make up his mind. He's still in love with that girl. Going on while you got a chance. And although I'm soaking it up, part of me, like I said, did not want to believe that he was still in love with her. All right, cool. So fast forward. I'm back at my spot. I'm driving myself to and from work. He's not coming over as much. He's not staying anymore. I noticed that all of his shit is starting to trickle out of my house to somewhere. But then his car was absolutely clean now. Yes, it should have kicked in that he was back with his baby mama. But I'm like, your mama here, your grandma here. You got some other friends and family. Maybe you'd have moved in with them, which is fine. I'm not going to sweat it. We're going back and forth to work. I noticed that he on his phone more. He taking calls in the back more, all types of shit. This is the signs of a man working out his relationship. See y'all in the next part. All right, y'all, part 3. Told y'all it was not cute. Look at my teeth. Oh my God, like, So we walking down from his mom's house.
Kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with a Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubters, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. They came the neighborhood dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side. They set the record straight with humor and pride. In the dating game and gender wars where opinions clash and play, Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up into the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with her Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubts, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. Then came the neighborhood dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side. They set the record straight with humor and pride. Game and gender wars where opinions clash and play. Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Let them talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up
Rain
to the
down the
sky.
rain fall, let the whole world see.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Yeah, it's Friday. I'm like, I have to remind myself this week has been something else. Hope y'all are well. Hope you're doing good. We have a lot to cover off today. We have a lot, or tonight, for those of you guys who it's nighttime. I'm going to try to keep this efficient because there's a lot of information, but I started off the video by sharing with you guys. Some of you guys sounds like you're familiar with the content creator, but this is a content creator who just has all these crazy stories about jail. She got like, I think 15 stories about baby daddy part 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many baby daddies she has, but she has a lot, right? So I wanted to touch upon this because y'all know, I think especially over the last week or two, you're familiar with the whole situation that's been going on with Dr. Umar and his daughter and that drama. And a lot of Black men are catching strays, right? Like a lot of Black men are hearing
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable. Hold Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
Right? So this is what we're hearing. This whole drama between Dr. Umar and his baby mamas and however many there are and how many kids, it brings up this reoccurring theme of these deadbeat baby daddies, right? And these Black men being these deadbeat fathers who aren't here, who walk away, who are not involved, who are, creating all these kids out of wedlock and then sleeping around and cheating. Like, I mean, I don't have to really go down the laundry list to let y'all know these narratives. You're very familiar with the negative things that have been said about Black men, especially about Black fathers since like forever. Okay. So I wanted to touch upon this because I shared this tweet not too long ago. Like, I think this was like 2 days. No, I think it was yesterday I shared it. Just as like a reminder, right? Where it's like, can we be reminded that most Black men in America do not have children, right? I mean, again, you have to consider ages, but I'm like, by and large, like Black men of like marrying age or whatever, like they don't have kids like that. Black women are sleeping with the small percentage of men. Like, this was true and this is still true. And the crazy thing about it is when you have situations like the thing with Dr. Umar, when you have these situations where you see these horrible, like this family court, baby daddy, baby mama drama, it's really easy to stick all Black men in this category. It's really easy to blame the majority of Black men for things that the minority of men are doing. That's been going on for quite some time. And I think it's about time we, again, make this distinction that we have to be reminded that a lot of this Pookiedemic stuff we see going on, okay, the Pookiedemic that's been going on in Black America since day one has really been the result of a minority of Black men in the community, truly. And that's what I want to go over today. I want to look over some stats just as a reminder. I did this a few years ago, but just as like a freshener, I want to go over some stats of like what's happening, how many Black men are having kids with multiple women, how many Black women are having kids with multiple fathers, what is the percentage, like what's the fertility rate? Like, we're going to go over all of that because I think, we continue to see these stories and we continue to see the propaganda really be pushed. There's always a reason to blame Jermaine. Literally, there's always a reason to blame Jermaine. There's always a reason to say what he's not doing, how he's not showing up. And at the end of the day, I'm like, can we just have a level of acceptance that it's literally not always Jermaine's fault? You know what I mean? Like, we all know that Jermaine out there who really is creating broken homes. But we have to be very clear that's not all Black men, and that's actually not even the majority of Black men. And it's not fair, and it's, I think, really unhealthy and toxic to continue to push narratives on the majority of men that are really can only really be applied to a few. And really it goes down to like a toxic cycle. Like, some of the stuff is just cyclical, it's generational, because you start seeing the Pookies out there. A lot of them are a lot of times a product of single mother raised households, right? Single moms who got knocked up super young or who have multiple baby daddies. And so daddy wasn't there. The streets raised a Pookie. And then he ended up impregnating somebody super young. And then now this child is having a child. And it's a whole vicious cycle. And the thing about it is like, these things are really simple to fix. Like, it's like, as far as the behavior, you don't have to have sex with Pookie. Like, Black women don't have to have sex with Pookie. Black girls don't have to have sex with Pookie. That alone, that would do so much. Marry before you carry. That alone would eliminate like majority of the social media discourse we have right now. So much of the beef, so much of the gender war would be alleviated just by ladies marrying before they carry and by eliminating Pookie from the roster. So that's what I want. I just wanted to talk about a little bit again, just as a refresher, because, you know, it's really easy for these situations. Like I said, the one that happened with Dr. Umar and all the drama associated with that, it's easy for that to happen. And then for us to sit here and say,
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
okay, it's easy to do that. But I think it's really important that we actually be armed with the information necessary to know what's actually going on. And like I said before, like, a lot of dudes are catching strays. A lot of people are being blamed for things that they actually didn't do. A lot of Black men are being blamed for things that they didn't do. I am not here to advocate a person, you know, giving up their responsibility. No, I think everybody needs to be responsible for, you know, their self. Every man needs to be responsible for themselves and the people that they have authority over, whether it be their family, their community, whoever. But I'm also not about trying to blame a majority of people for something a minority is doing. And then also not looking at also the behavior that women have to play in this. Because like, we can't sit here and act like all these single mothers are victims to all these Black men. It was like, if you had kids that were created out of wedlock, you know, with the exception of those cases where it's forced and, you know, it happens to someone who, a young girl, I understand sometimes young girls are taken advantage of. Look, young boys are taken advantage of too. So with the exception of kids who find themselves in scenarios where they're taken advantage of, with the exception of that, it's like, no, you have to take responsibility for what you did. And we can't just always blame Jermaine. Like, that can't, because if we just sit here and blame Jermaine, then we actually don't get to the core of what is actually going on with respect to activity. So that's what I wanted to look at a little bit today. As you guys are joining in, like, share, and subscribe. Show some love on Cash App, Venmo, y'all know the drill. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a few things for you guys. As I mentioned, you know, I brought up this tweet just as a quick refresher on how this conversation even really got kickstarted. And really, you know, as I was thinking about this whole thing with Dr. Umar and it's just getting so messy. Honestly, it's getting so messy. But, you know, that is making its round on social media. And, you know, I said this, I was like, again, most Black men in America do not have children. Black women are sleeping with a small percentage of men. That's really what it goes down to. Now into the 80-20 rule, we talk about hypergamy, we can use whatever term, but that's literally what it is. That's literally what it is, right? This is not really debatable. Now, of course, you know, I go into the comment section and I see people who are like, nah, what are you talking about? Now here's a thread. I start to put more stats, right? It gets at the combined fertility and multi-partner statistics. Again, I'm going to break this down a little bit more. This story, y'all remember this story? Man with 34 children with 17 women gets on reality show. This is the kind of stuff. These are the kinds of stories that can fuel this propaganda. Not every Black man, but the majority of Black men are not going out there having 34 kids with 17 different women. That's not happening. Again, it's a small percentage. It's a large percentage of women who are going for generally the top tier men, whatever they consider top tier at that time, whether it be from look, whether it be just overall his social status in that moment. But like we know, this is a rather extreme example, but these are the kinds of stories that keep the propaganda or keep the narrative going, that Black men need to catch strays for all the things that Pookie's doing, if you will. But like we know, this is a minority. But listen, one dude having 34 kids with 17 different women, like that's if you have that enough, that's going to create impact and that's going to create chaos. This is just one man. Right. So yeah, so I just wanted to give you guys some context. And again, I posted this on my community tab. For example, it says Black men are more likely to have no kids. Black women are more likely to have 2 or more. So already out the gate, they're letting you know. We want to sit around here and talk about all the things Pookie is doing and all the ways Black men aren't showing up. But we have to, let's actually look at what's going on. The majority is we're more likely to find a Black man that doesn't have a kid. And we're also a lot more likely to find a woman that has kids. Like Black women have more kids than Black men. Let's just start there. So that really means 2 things. Either these Black women are having sex with men of other races to procreate, or these Black women are all choosing the same men and then they're having multiple kids with them, right? And I think there's a little bit of both. But this right here, this is reality. These kinds of numbers, this is reality. We can go and push a narrative and say we got to blame Jermaine for all of the things that are going on in the community. And I do think, yeah, I do believe every person has to take responsibility for what's going on in their life and the people that they have influence over. But that's a lot different than assigning blame or assigning activity or behavior to a group of people when that's actually only happens to a minority. Like I said, Black men who are doing this, creating multiple broken families, that's actually a minority of Black men. But it's enough to somehow assign blame to all Black men so that you have these kinds of things happening.
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
All it takes is for a viral story. In the case of this situation with Dr. Umar and his daughter, she's obviously angry and mad, and it keeps the narrative and it keeps the propaganda going. That's all it takes. But like I said, when we get away from the feelings associated with it and the drama and all that stuff, and then we actually look at what's going on, like I said, this is just one example. And I'm going to show you guys some more, give you guys a little bit more deep dive. So like I said, we can't blame Jermaine we can't sit there and do that. We can't sit there and just blame Jermaine automatically and not actually look at what's going on. It's a lot more complex. Okay, so I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of a deep dive or just give you guys some insight into the tweet that I shared, right? Yeah, so I had some responses. I mean, y'all can go check out the responses if you want to. But it's just basically me reminding, I went over this a few years ago, but it's me reminding like, y'all, this is actually the reality. So before we start, assigning blame and fueling propaganda, can we really be really honest about what's going on? Now, another reason for those of you guys who are catching me on now, if you go back, you can catch the replay a little bit. The reason I wanted to share that story at the beginning was with that TikToker who had all them crazy stories about her baby daddy was because she is telling on herself. She's letting y'all know the mindset that she had. She's letting you know where she was at, emotionally, personally. She's over here talking about like, oh yeah, when I was, wanted to have kids and when I was choosing somebody, I wasn't thinking about their goals. Like I wasn't thinking about who they were, how they were. I just thought I wanted them to look cute on pictures. I just thought, oh, I wanted it to be, like IG worthy kind of stuff. But I wasn't sitting here thinking about, well, what's your life plan? Like, what's your vision? Like, what your goal? Like, she wasn't doing that. She said that out of her own mouth. Y'all can go back and catch the replay. So I wanted to share that because, she's funny. You know what I mean? She's funny. But also, she's just giving us insight into actually really what goes on. There's a lot of ladies who think like that, particularly if they start having kids really young. And they just find themselves in a situation where they weren't planning to have a kid, but it just kind of happened or whatever. Like you'll find out it's not that they're necessarily choosing to have these babies with these men because these men are showing that they have great qualities. That's not what they're doing. So, okay. So let's go real briefly so you guys can get some insight as to what is actually going on. Like, who is actually responsible for the Pookiedemic we see going on right now? what is causing this whole single parent household? Like, who's responsible for this? So, okay. So, like, on just a real basic level, right? And again, we want to take all these things. You want to take all these things with a grain of salt. Stats or whatever are always done relatively. There's always a little bit of margin for error. But as of right now, right, the stats say that as far as if you're talking multiple partner fertility, basically that is the amount of men who have children with multiple partners and women who have children with multiple partners. Let me show y'all real quickly what the stats say. It says, among Black parents with 2 or more children, 59% of Black mothers and 32% of Black fathers have children by multiple partners. Again, 59% of Black mothers. 59% of Black mothers compared to 32% of Black fathers. Let me show this. Let me show it to you guys actually real quick. Because some of y'all might be visual. You might need to see it. Y'all might need to screenshot it. And then I'll go over some of this, where these sources are from. Okay. But this is real quick. Multiple partner fertility. MPF refers to individuals having children with more than one partner. Among Black parents with 2 or more children, 59% of Black mothers and 32% of Black fathers have children by multiple partners. 59% versus 32. 59% of Black mothers got more than 2, basically, baby daddies. Versus 32% of Black fathers. Again, I want to reiterate that. 59% of Black mothers got multiple baby daddies. Whereas for Black fathers, it's 32%. So just reading that alone, if you guys can just let me know in the comment section so I make sure that it's very clear. Of the Black men, if we're to look at Black fathers versus Black mothers, which one has multiple baby daddy versus baby mamas, right? It's basically saying Black mothers, Black women are more likely to have multiple baby daddies than Black men are likely to have multiple baby mamas. Y'all see that, right? I know I'm sounding redundant, but I want to make sure it's really clear. The Pookiedemic, right? Yeah, the Pookiedemic. That's what I'm saying. The Pookiedemic. That part. So, a Black woman versus Black men, who of the two is more likely to have multiple baby daddies, baby mamas? I mean, it's telling us right here. 59% of Black mothers have multiple baby daddies. Whereas for Black men, 32% of Black fathers have multiple baby mamas. So when we want to sit here and say,
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
when we want to say that, we have to remember that we are referring to a very, very small percentage of the Black male population. Because again, this is 32% of Black fathers. We're talking about the men who actually have kids. We have to remember that majority of Black men, within marrying age, give or take, aren't even married to have kids. So there's a good amount of Black men who aren't even in the conversation. They don't even have kids. They're not even here. So we're talking about a minority of a minority, right? So again, I know I'm belaboring this point, but I want to be very, 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 very clear, because we see these propaganda, we see all this, where are the good Black men, and then where are the fathers, and the fathers aren't there, and the fatherless households, and the fathers need to be there, and there's truth to that. There is truth to that. Daddies do need to be there. When daddies are not there, you get this. This is what you get.
Men.
This is what you get.
Accountable. Hold them accountable.
So they do need to be there, but there has to be a level of understanding of, okay, so why are more women having these kids with these dudes that already got baby mamas? Why is that happening? Okay. So again, I just wanted to give you guys a quick recap. Now I'm going to jump real briefly into a study that was done that breaks this out. I can provide the resource in the description for anybody who wants to go and look at it themselves and do like a deep dive. But there's just a few things that I want to highlight that I think are really important when it comes to understanding the way that this impacts the Black community. So here it says, men who father children with more than one woman, a contemporary portrait of multi-partner fertility. So a quick overview. Now this was done back in 2006, right? So like I said, we can, the numbers have probably varied slightly, but they're still very relevant today based upon everything we see going on in the Black community. This is not debatable. And then even Black demographics, I can show you guys some of those stats. That's up to date, and the numbers are still pretty significant. Okay, so it says multiple. If you listen, multiple partner fertility is a term that researchers use to describe the pattern of a man or a woman having biological children with more than one partner. In the past, this pattern generally occurred because of widowhood or widowerhood and remarriage. Today, however, increases in divorce and childbearing outside of marriage are the main factors contributing to multiple partner fertility. So basically, they're saying today, shacking up is the main reason folks is having a baby, having multiple babies. It's just people shacking up, sleeping around. It's not due to a person. It used to be if a woman got married and then she was widowed, her husband died, and then she got remarried and had kids with the new husband. That's what used to happen. Now that's not happening. Now people are just sleeping around with different folks and having babies. That's what they're basically saying. Okay, so it says multiple partner fertility has potentially negative consequences for men, women, and children. Again, multiple partner fertility has potentially negative consequences for men, women, and children. Y'all hear that? Basically, what it's saying is a person who fathers somebody, a man who fathers, kids with multiple different women, that could have negative consequences. That could have negative consequences. Whereas like for a woman, it's the same thing. A woman who has kids with multiple different men, that is also going to have negative consequences. That's basically what it's saying. Okay. So let's continue. It says, having children with multiple partners reduces a person's chances of marriage, especially for women. Also, when men have children with more than one woman, it is difficult for men to balance their financial and social responsibilities to more than one family. As a result, the children from previous relationships may lose out in both socially and economically, as fathers may invest more time and money in the children from their current relationship and reduce child support payments and time spent with their children who live in other households. So again, it goes on to explain why when a man has children with multiple babies, when a man has children with multiple women, that creates chaos. The same way, when a woman has babies with multiple men, that creates chaos, and it also reduces the likelihood of her being married, which is also why we see the rate of single parent households being what it is. It makes it harder for her to be considered in the marriage market. So literally, okay. So I wanted to give you guys, and then it says, so this is just talking about the data it has. It says the results of child trends analysis both support the findings of previous research and provide new information. For example, we found that multiple partner fertility was more prevalent among certain groups, obviously older men, African-American men compared with white men and Hispanic men, and in men who grew up in households that were not headed by two biological parents. So basically, like they're saying, when you compare the amount of basically men who have multiple baby mamas, that percentage is higher among Black men compared to Hispanic men, white men, right? It is higher. So Black men are more likely to do that compared to other races. But they say there's also a direct impact between a man who is likely to father kids with multiple women and whether or not he grew up with both of his parents. So remember when I said this starts to become like a cycle? This starts to become like a vicious cycle that it happens. And then once that happens, whether it be a mom or dad or whoever, once it happens, then it repeats itself in future generations because that's what they saw growing up. And then because, mom had 3 baby daddies and she was, battling child support and there was a drama associated with that. The kid, didn't have the support was needed. Mom stressed out. Mom she's dealing with all the financial burdens. So the kid doesn't have the support that they need. They're not getting the emotional support that they need from mom and dad. They're not getting the financial. They're not getting the stability. So that child is now more likely to be involved in bad things, whether it be they themselves getting pregnant when they're young, whether it be incarceration, whatever. But it's like it becomes a vicious cycle. So And this one says I would like to have raw numbers. Okay, yeah, and I'll show you that a little bit. Black demographics gives us a little bit more raw numbers with respect to that. So yeah, so let me see. Okay, so yeah, so just wanted to give you guys that sense here. And again, you guys can look at the full study here is about 8 pages. And it compares basically men by race, age, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a few other points that I wanted to point out. Let me see. Okay, this one right here says, what I thought was interesting. Incarceration is more prevalent among men who exhibit multiple partner fertility. Basically, there is a trend between men who are incarcerated and men who have multiple baby mamas. Like this is really basically a scientific way of saying these women are choosing Pookies. And look, I understand Pookies can be reformed. Some dudes get caught up in gang life and do all kind of crazy stuff and then they turn their life around. I've met men like that. So I understand some can be reformed Pookies. But in general, what this stat right here is saying is that incarceration is more prevalent among men who exhibit. So basically, men who got multiple baby mamas are more likely to be incarcerated. Ain't that crazy? Like I said before, it's not like these women are choosing to have kids with these different men because these men are actually showing that they have good qualities needed to raise a family. It's not because these men are showing like, oh, they really take care of their kids, or they have, a vision or a plan, or, they're stable financially, they're stable emotionally. It's not that. That's not what's being done. They're just having kids with Pookie, literally. So like I said, this is a scientific way, again, of really proving out what we've been saying since day one. You said thug and love, right? It's just right. This is a scientific way of proving thug and love. Okay, so here it says approximately 61% of men who experience multiple partner fertility had ever served time in prison, compared with 28% of men with single parent fertility. That's a significant difference. Our analysis could not determine the relative timing of men's incarceration and fertility. Another one here, it says men who have children with different women are more likely to report that they used illegal drugs in the previous year. So again, there is a direct connection between a man who's incarcerated, a man who struggles with drug use, and the amount of kids he produces. So when you hear a black woman saying this,
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
when you see that, I want you guys to understand again what they're referring to. They're referring to the men that are incarcerated so they can't be there. The men who struggle with drugs or different things that can't be there. And of course, that's not the case for every situation. But again, we're looking at trends. And that's why I'm saying where it's like, okay, so you got black men catching strays. You got the majority, a big portion of black men catching strays for things that they actually aren't doing by and large. This what we're looking at right here is there's 32% of black fathers, not even black men. We're talking about of those black men who actually father kids, the 32% of those black men who father kids. We're looking at their behavior. But unfortunately, their behavior can be so toxic and detrimental that it can now start to basically impact what all black men are doing. Right now, all black men can get blamed for these things that a small minority are doing. And these numbers are crazy because, like I said, y'all talking about thug and love, all that kind of different stuff. But this thing is saying scientifically what we've all kind of known anecdotally to be true, that these women aren't going for guys who show that they are good fathers. They're going for men who are incarcerated or struggle with law. They're going with men who struggle with drug use. Another one right here, a younger age of the first sexual experience is associated with a greater risk of multiple partner fertility. So again, right, teen pregnancies. Again, if there's a teen pregnancy, a person has a child super young, their likelihood of having another child with somebody else also exponentially goes up. But again, there's a lot of challenges. We discussed this. There's a lot of challenges with a person having multiple children with multiple people. The report at the beginning talked about that. It said it can stretch the man socially, financially. It can stretch the man. It can put demands on them. And then it's the same for the woman. It can put them in a really hard situation. It can make it harder for them to actually marry, which is also going to impact them financially, which is going to make them more likely to experience poverty, which is going to put the kids at risk and also make the kids more likely to repeat the cycle. So again, it becomes cyclical. It becomes cyclical. So and I see some of you guys, you got to skip the first girl story. The reason I showed that story at the beginning is because I wanted to give you guys, again, just some anecdotal evidence of like what's happening. She's sharing her own life. And the thing about that story is she puts herself on blast. She tells you the mentality that she had. She calls herself delusional. She uses that term, but I wanted to give y'all like a real example of what is actually happening. So she's telling us anecdotally how this stuff happens. Now we're looking at reports, right? The science that's saying, oh, wow, it seems like Black women actually do have more kids than Black men. I wonder why. It seems like Black women actually are creating kids with a minority of Black men. Interesting. And then we're seeing the kind of men that are being chosen. And so all I'm trying to say is we have to look at both sides. It cannot just be blame Jermaine, blame Black men, and it can't just always be
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
Like it can't just always be that. Because I'm like, we're seeing there's more to the story. We're seeing there's more to the story. They're saying there's a lot more to the story. Okay. That's what it's showing us. So, okay. So I wanted you guys, these are just a few examples. Again, this whole thing is about 8 pages. Let me see. Now this one is interesting. It says in the conclusion, it says, when men father children with different women, their children often suffer the consequences. When men father children with different women, their children often suffer the consequences. Very clear. Again, when men father children with different women, their children often suffer the consequences. Children born under these circumstances are far less likely to receive the support and encouragement that a father can give when he has to spread his attention and resources among multiple households. That is, if he acknowledges his children from multiple relationships at all. Expanding our understanding of factors associated with multiple partner fertility will help us to identify target groups for interventions as well as preventative strategies. So, I mean, like I said, that was a really scientific way of saying what we all know to be true, that when women have kids with these Pookies and Pookies create all these kids with these women, it creates a mess. We didn't really need this study to know this, but I think it just helps reinforce scientifically what we've been saying since however long. Okay. Real quick shout out to you with the 5. It says tossing some on the collection plate. Thanks for the great content. Thank you for the 5. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, you guys. If you like this content, if you find it useful, y'all know the drill. So again, we are going over real quickly. I wanted to review the stats and the things related to single parent households and broken homes and what is going on, because there's a lot of misinformation going on right now. I think, especially with respect to the whole Dr. Umar situation and the way his daughter's been going around, just putting all the business on blast. And that's been a hot mess. Black women are catching strays, right? And I'm like, I think why it's super important to have these conversations is because, again, if we always blame Black men for these things, then we're not able to actually analyze the behaviors that women are doing to actually also be involved in the results. Like I said, it's not like these Black women, that all these women are victims of these men. That's not true. These ladies are choosing. The video that I showed y'all at the beginning, she sat there and she told on herself. She said, I was the Lulu. I was just picking dudes that I thought looked cute in pictures. But I wasn't choosing nobody that had, I was not choosing anybody that had like showed that they could be a good father. I wasn't choosing anybody based upon their goals, their vision, or aligned thoughts or beliefs. I just thought that he would be cute in the picture. She literally like said that. I mean, not word for word, but she alluded to it. So I'm saying it's like we can sit here all we want and say,
Black
like,
men accountable. Hold them accountable.
like we can sit here and say that all we want, but like we have to really be in acceptance that there are things that we are doing. There are things that are being done right now to really like that ladies are doing right now to make the situation a lot worse. So like I said, we can't just always blame Jermaine. It can't always be Jermaine's fault. We know that there are Pookies out there doing some bad stuff, and he needs to. There's some stuff Pookie got to deal with. But I'm saying Pookie is not 100% of Black men. Actually, we're finding that men who exhibit that behavior are actually minority. That's what we're addressing today. Okay, let me see. It says I used to pretend to be more street to attract. And it worked. This is how I picked for my. You know, the thing about it is, you're not the first man that I've heard admit to this. Unfortunately, like I know a lot of men who, especially Black men, who say that they've had to change their approach. They had to pretend to be what they weren't just to get attraction from Black women. And I'm like, that's sad. Also, I'm thinking that's probably not the kind of Black woman you want to be with, because if you're attracting a Black woman who wants to be with a dude who doesn't exhibit like the qualities needed to have to be married or to have a healthy family, like that's not someone worth being with to begin with, is my thought. But you're not the first. I know I've heard multiple Black men say this, unfortunately, and be like, I had to try to act a certain way. I had to put on just to get attention. Like they weren't attracted to me, or they weren't giving me the time of day when I was actually being like a decent human being. That to me is insane. That's insane. Okay, so let me see. There's a few other things I wanted to go over. And thank you for that. Thank you for that support. So, okay. Let me see. So we went through that ChatGPT. Sorry guys, I'm looking at. So, okay. So we kind of saw statistically, scientifically, right? What happens? We're seeing like scientifically the numbers, like what happens when basically people create these toxic cycles. Jermaine gets blamed, all Black men get blamed, but it's really a small percentage of people who are really doing this. But unfortunately, the damage it's so dire, and it's so, I don't say persistent, but it's so persistent that it's creating children scenarios. I wanted to show this. Anybody who remembers this episode, Iyanla Fix Your Life. This man who had 34 kids with 17 different women. Y'all remember this?
34 children. At any point, did it dawn on you, this is too much?
No.
So at child 15, you never said, let me use a condom?
I did use condoms.
How many?
I probably would have 200 kids if I didn't use condoms.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did it ever dawn on you, let me get a vasectomy?
No.
Why not?
I don't want one.
Look what you created.
I don't have a problem with what I created.
Okay, so this one, your hand is in her eye. This one over here, the face is buried. And what can you do right now, holding these 14 babies, with all of them behind you that you don't even have your hand on? What can you, one man, do right now? Tell me, for these children, what can you do? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Are you aware that you just thunked that baby's head on the chair? And that one down there is hurt. Can I ask you why you put your children down?
Tired of holding the dolls.
Okay, wait a minute.
She said,
I'm sorry. As a mom, I don't get not to take care of my children. no matter what I'm thinking or feeling or going on. I had to figure out and find the time and the way to get myself handled, but they were first. And I didn't get to just put them down because it was inconvenient.
That part. That part. Y'all remember that episode? Or maybe this is your first time seeing it. I don't know. But anyways, I wanted to give you guys, again, this is like a real life. Again, I'm giving y'all real life examples of like what really be going on. Like this man, you can see. I mean, he had what? 13. He had 34 kids. 34 kids with 17 different women. 34 kids, y'all. 17 different women he had. So that I mean, you're only really able to afford that today if you're like a king or you're sitting on like generational wealth. And we already know Black Americans are not sitting on generational wealth like that. Like, and he's not in Africa. He ain't African in a polygamous culture where they have a system that can actually manage that and support that. So it's like this man, that man over there was fathered 34 kids with 17 different, I can't even imagine what child support is looking like. But I'm just saying, I wanted to give you guys an example because that's maybe a more extreme case, but that's what we're dealing with. And if I go back to the original stats that I showed y'all real quick, where I said, okay, so y'all want to be reminded of the breakdown, the amount of women who are actually creating kids out creating kids out of wedlock with multiple men versus women. And we see right here clearly, it says 59% of Black mothers have multiple baby daddies, whereas 32% of Black fathers have multiple baby mamas. Put another way, among Black parents with 2 or more children, 59% of Black mothers and 32% of Black fathers have children by multiple partners. So when we want to sit here and say, like,
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
So we want to sit here and say that we have to actually know like what it is. We actually have to be really clear because there's oftentimes a lot of passion and a lot of narrative and a lot of emotions behind the stories, but we're not being honest about what's really going on. And we're not being honest about who's really driving this, who's driving this. And we're also not being honest about how there is really, if we're to blame, to pass blame, if you will, there needs to be on both sides. Yeah, there are men out there who are doing crazy things. That dude sat there and said he didn't want to get a vasectomy. He just sat there and said he didn't see nothing wrong with it. He didn't see nothing wrong with having 34 kids with 17 different women, knowing that he is not in a position to take care of them. So he sat there and said that he didn't see anything wrong with it. So obviously we have men who have their own challenges, their own issues I got to work through that end up creating these broken homes. But there's also women who sit there and say, oh, that's the man that I want to father my children. A man who's already shown he has multiple kids, who has his own challenges he's working through, maybe some trauma from childhood, maybe mama wasn't there or mama was, distant or daddy, whatever. And then a woman's going to look at that and say, oh, I want him to father my children. The one who already shows he can't deal with the children he already has. Like, so I'm just like, can we sit here? Can we actually be honest about the situation? Jermaine is not to blame for everything. We can't sit here and blame Black men, the entirety of Black men, for something a minority are doing, while also overlooking the fact that, if we really want to assign blame, not that we need to be sitting here doing that, but if we want to assign blame, like we really should be looking at the woman and being like, listen, y'all are the ones who are doing this more. There's a high percentage of y'all that are having kids out of wedlock with multiple men. Like, if we really want to sit here and play tit for tat, y'all know I don't like doing that. But if I want to be petty, like I said, it should be like clearly. I don't even need to. This is the numbers. This is numbers. So now, real quick. So now let me hop over real quick to Black demographics. And like I said, I'll put some of these resources. There's another one here. Actually, see if I can find it. I'll review this one real briefly. There's 2 more sources that I'm going to review briefly. In the meantime, I'm going to go on a quick break, and then we will go over the next sources. Yeah, so just bear with me, guys. We're going to a quick break.
It's a nightfall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with a Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubters, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. They came the neighborhood up, dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia, Swahili for strength and grace by his side. They set the record straight with humor and pride. In the dating game and gender wars, where opinions clash and play, Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up into the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with her Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubts, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. Then came the neighborhood up, dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia, Swahili for strength and grace by his side. They set the record straight with humor and dating game and gender wars, where opinions clash and play. Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Let them talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry. Black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Rain fall, let the whole world see.
Thank you for the, he said the math tax. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so we have a few more things we're going to go over. And let me see. Okay, so I wanted to hop over real quick. Now, for those of you guys who are just joining me now, to bring you guys up to speed, we have been actually exploring, we've been exploring parenting to be more concise. I've been looking at how many Black men have multiple baby mamas versus how many Black women have multiple baby daddies. We've been doing that comparison because we already know that there's a lot of narrative out there about how Black men don't show up and how they are largely responsible for, the broken family, the broken American family. And especially with the whole drama that's been going on with Dr. Umar and his daughter that has been just putting him on blast. It's just been a mess. Black men are catching strays. You know what I mean? And there's this constant push and there's this constant need to try to check Black men, get them in place and basically say,
Black,
you know what I mean?
men
Like just hold them accountable. So
hold them accountable.
That's what they're saying. This is what they're saying.
Men accountable.
This is what they're saying.
Hold them accountable.
This is what they're saying. And here's the thing. I'm all for people, man or woman, taking responsibility for their issues and their their decisions. That's what adults were supposed to do. And I understand that men have a unique authority to lead and have leadership in their families, in their communities, in whatever sphere of influence. So I'm not saying that that doesn't need to be done, but what I am saying is that there's this really toxic and untrue habit of assigning blame and assigning actions to a majority of a population, to a majority of Black men, when that's actually not happening. Like, we are judging Black men as a whole for things that only a minority of Black men are doing. The Pookiedemic, right? That's what's happening. And what we went over is that when we look at the percentage of Black women who have multiple baby daddies versus Black men, it's much higher for Black women. 59%, right? It says, I'm going to read that stat for you guys again. It says, among Black parents with 2 or more children, 59% of Black mothers, 59% of Black mothers have multiple baby daddies, whereas 32% of Black fathers got multiple baby mamas. So Black women having multiple partners, multiple fathers, 59%. 59% of Black women have multiple partners, whereas for Black men, it's 32%. That's a pretty significant difference. So again, what that's showing us, what that's telling us, is that there is a large percentage of Black women who are either procreating with men outside of their race, right? Who are either procreating with white men, Brad, or just men outside of the race, right? Or there is a large percentage of Black women who are creating kids with the same men. That's what that stat is showing us. Again, 59% of Black women have multiple fathers or multiple men that they have fathered their children. 59%. Whereas for Black men, it's 32%. So Black women have more kids, and Black women have more kids with multiple men. That's the context. So when we're having these conversations about how horrible or how broken down the family is and Black men ain't there and single fathers and where are all the good Black men, we have to now look at both sides. We have to look at both sides. It can't just be Jermaine's fault. We can't just blame Jermaine all the time, particularly when we're seeing that Black men aren't even the ones who are doing it at the same level Black women are, honestly. Like I said, I'm all for people taking responsibility, but if you really want to play tit for tat, it's actually Black women who are doing that behavior more. It is Black women who are having kids with multiple men more than Black men. I mean, there's a majority of Black men aren't even in this conversation. They even got kids, not even relationships. So that's the context. And so I just wanted to bring up some more stats for you guys. You said that was my piano. I do play the piano, by the way. I do play the piano. Side note, I do. Anyways, so that's the context I just wanted to have for you guys. And then I'm just going to show you guys some more examples. Right. Today, we're just going over stats. We're just going over what the science is saying. I just went over a whole study. It was like an 8-page study. I'm going to put it in the description. I went over a whole 8-page study of them basically saying scientifically what we have already been knowing. That study described thug and love. Okay. It described the Pookiedemic. It described baby mama drama, baby daddy drama. It described all of that in a really small way. And the craziest part about the study I just showed you is that there was one part where it basically said, okay, there is a direct correlation between men who are in drugs and men who are incarcerated or have been incarcerated having multiple baby mamas. Put another way, they're saying men who, it's basically saying like, the men who are the most likely to have multiple baby mamas are ones who are in drugs incarcerated. The men who are the most likely to have multiple baby mamas are the ones who are incarcerated or struggle with drugs. That's basically what the study said. Y'all can go back and check it out yourself. But that's what I'm saying. It's like we already are seeing now when ladies decide to have multiple fathers, it's not necessarily because they're all going out and choosing these, amazing provider male with vision and leadership and great morals and leadership capacities. No, the dudes that are being chosen to have all these kids are dudes who struggle with drugs, dudes who are in and out of jail. That's literally what it's saying. So that's the study we just went out. You guys can go back and catch the replay if you want. But now I just wanted to show you a few more. Because like I said, today, we're just looking at what's actually going on. We can sit here and say all day, every day.
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
We want to sit here and say that, but we don't want to sit here and talk about the things that Black women are also doing and how they're actually participating in this trouble. And what the studies also showed is that, yeah, when a woman has multiple baby daddies and the daddy has multiple baby mamas, you know who suffers the most? The children do. The children suffer. And we already know this. But like I said, now you have these scientific reports who are basically reaffirming the experience. Some of y'all guys have even experienced this or are the product of that or had to work through that, right? So you have these scientific studies who are going out affirming the thug and love Pookiedemic we've been seeing. That's been just destroying. It's been working its way through Black America particularly. So let's go. Now I want to go and check out. Now this is Black demographics, right? And they try to update their stuff regularly. I'm going to briefly run through some of the charts, and then what I really want to focus on is the bottom, because the bottom of this particular page was updated to my understanding this year. And it has, again, a lot to say. It shows us a lot about what's actually really going on. So again, Black woman fertility. This is another one, Black demographics. Actually, wait, you know what? Actually, no, let me do this real quick. Actually, before I head over there. There's one more study I wanted to show you. Sorry, I'm popping around. This one, it says multiple partner families more common than you think. And so it goes on to just basically talk about, now here it says, I want to highlight this part. It says, this study also found the trend is more common. Okay, so a new study finds that a quarter of American women with multiple children conceive their children with more than one man. The study also found the trend is more common among African-American women. Host Michael Martin discusses these findings with lead researcher Cassandra Dorius of the University of Michigan. Martin also speaks with social welfare and policy expert. So basically this goes on to explain that. But let me go down right here where it actually breaks down the stats. Like I said before, reinforcing what we all know to be true. Let's see if I can find it. Oops, sorry, guys. I had it, and then here it says, okay, here's what we found. 20% of American women had children with multiple partners by midlife. Of African-American women with 2 or more children, 59% of those women had children by more than one partner. So again, that's just another source that is showing the 59% that I had mentioned to you guys before. It's telling us one of the sources. This is npr.org. Now it compares that to other races. For Hispanic women, it's 35%, and 22% for non-Hispanic white mothers, right? So basically white women. So again, that's just a quick resource. Again, I can put this in the actual description. These are just more resources for you guys to go and read if you guys want to do your own research. As I said, it's always important, especially when you have these conversations, to do your own reading, to cross-check, to cross-examine, so that you're making sure that there isn't being propaganda or nothing like that spread. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the Black demographics, because that is what I wanted to check out. Okay. So we're going to look at this real briefly. Here it says Black woman fertility. Okay, so we're going to look at that. Also, real quick, I saw a cash app come through from the professional with the 10. Thank you so much for the 10. I appreciate it. I appreciate that a lot. As you guys know, you can like, share, subscribe. You can show support if this is helpful for you, or just, pass the information along. If there's anyone who would actually really benefit from knowing what's going on and not getting caught up in all the propaganda. So thank those of you guys who have shown some love and support. Okay, so now we're looking at fertility. So this is just a quick comparison. We see 61% of Black women ages 15 to 49 have had a biological child. So more Black women have children than compared to other races of women, right? Look at white, Asian, Hispanic. Generally speaking, I think, they're comparing Black women with the combination of all those races. Actually, I want to say Hispanic women might have a little more, but 61%. Now here it says 87% of Black women ages 40 to 49 have had a biological child in their life. So obviously Black women also, to my understanding, are more likely to have children later. Black women, I think, are the most likely to have children some of the earliest and actually some of the latest. And again, there might be a whole class divide there, but just really interesting stats. You guys can cross-reference that if you want. Here it says 41% of Black mothers live with their child's father when their child is born. So only 41% of Black mothers are in the relationship living with the man that they are impregnated by when the baby comes, compared to 76% of all the races. Significant difference, right? So here it says Black women are more likely to have only one child or 4 or more children compared to all. So I think this speaks very much to a class divide. Black women are some of the ones who have kids, some of the youngest, to my understanding, younger than white and Asian women at large. And also they are more likely to have women or kids at a later date. So they're kind of on the more extreme side of both sectors. Now here it looks at Black men. 46% of Black men aged 50 to 59 have had a biological child. So again, this is a minority, right? The minority at this point. Now, when it gets a little older, it seems like Black men tend to have children older. It says 81% of Black men aged 40 to 49 have had a biological child in their lifetime. So what that is showing us, there's a significant change just in that 4-year gap, 15 to 49 here, right? That's a few decades, whereas this one is just like 9 years. So it's showing us that there's a significant amount of Black men who end up having kids in their 40s. This one here, it says 66% of Black fathers live with their child's mother when their first child is born, which is 66% compared to the national average, which is 76. Right. So again, Black men and Black women are lower than the national average, but you have 66% of fathers who are in the home of their mother when the child is born, whereas only 41% of Black women are in the home when the child is born. So again, why is there a big difference here? What causes this difference in availability? Multiple reasons. What that's suggesting is that, again, Black women are having babies with, small percentage of Black women are having babies with multiple men, or also Black women are having kids with non-Black men. Right. That's what some of these numbers are suggesting already. We move down a little bit. So same here. It says Black men are more likely to have only one child, 4 or more children compared to all men. Yeah. So it's just giving us some more things here. Now, this is an interesting thing. I posted this on the community tab. Well, if you look here, if we're looking between the ages of 15 to 49, at this age range, more Black women have had more kids. Black women have had more kids than Black men. We see that. That's a pretty significant difference. As they get older, it balances out a little bit more, but by and large, Black women still have more kids than Black men. Now, right here, it says, Black men are more likely to have no kids. Black women are more likely to have 2 or more. Again, Black men are more likely to have no kids. Black women are more likely to have 2 or more. Now, again, why are these numbers important? I'm wanting to share this with you because when we have these narratives that are pushing men, as Black men particularly, as the whole of Black men, as dead baby daddies and bad fathers, and we hear this.
Hold Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
We have to keep these things in context. What we're seeing is that kind of narrative, that kind of deadbeat baby daddy narrative, this is being assigned to a minority of men. That's what these numbers are showing us. Let's continue. Okay. So again, Black men are more likely to have no kids. 54%. Black women are more likely to have 2 or more. I posted this on the community tab. No kids. 54% Black men, no kids. 39% Black women, no kids. Significant amount, significant difference. And this is looking at numbers under age 50. Okay. Now, this part I thought was really interesting. This part in particular, because this was updated, to my understanding, this was updated in 2025. So just last month, it was updated. It says these statistics reflect self-reported data. So basically, it's just saying, take it all with a grain of salt. Every stat, you take it all with a grain of salt. These are usually never perfect metrics, but they are more a guide, right? That's what this part is saying. Now it says there are over 307,000 more Black women than men. So over 300,000 Black women than men currently. Over 300,000 Black women than men currently in America. Despite this, however, there are more than 500,000 married Black men and Black women, basically. There are more than more than 500,000 men, black men are married than black women. More than 500,000 black men are married than black women. So more black men are married than black women, although less black men exist. Like there are less black American men who are like physically here in existence. However, they are still more married. So even when these narratives about like, oh, you know, black men don't want to commit, black men are, you know, where are the good black men? They're non-committal, they're not serious, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, we have to actually go back to the numbers. And the numbers are telling us that that's not true. Because although there are less black men, they are more married than black women today. These stats were updated February, last month. So this part is pretty up to date. What's going on, Dr. Thunder? So good to see you in the building. It's good to see you. Okay, so if we continue here, it says, black men are twice as likely to marry outside of their race than black women. We've already known this to be true. Now, again, that's still not, that stat alone may sound incredibly significant, but by and large, we still know that black men marry and are the most interested in black women, even with all the stuff going on today. Okay, this one says also, according to the report, there were 1 million more black women with children than black men. So basically, like we said, there are about 300,000 more black women in existence right now than black men. That's what this stat over here said. You know, I think they're keeping it at a certain age range, but there are over 300,000 black women than men. However, black women have 1 million more children than black men. Black women have 1 million more children than black men. Black women have 1 million more children than black men currently. 1 million more children. So black women are creating more children. Black women are creating more children. 54% of black men right now don't even have kids. And then of those black men who do have kids, 32% of those black men have kids with multiple women. We're talking about a minority of a minority. 1 million is a lot. I agree. 1 million is a lot. 1 million is a lot. So the reason I'm bringing all this stuff up is because when we want to sit here and say,
men accountable. Hold black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
we sit here and say that, and we can tell that is a scorned woman. I hope she's able to work things out with her dad. She's obviously very angry. So I understand like the anger, the passion, the emotions, and feeling like dad isn't there that's very painful. And there's a lot of women who can trauma bond on that. And then there's a lot of bitter and upset baby mamas who have drama with their baby daddies. And so they're loud and they're vocal. And then these narratives go out about Black men as a whole. But what we're not understanding, or what isn't being clearly distinguished, is that those Black men they're complaining about are the Pookies, quote unquote, the ones who are more likely to be incarcerated and the ones who are more likely to be involved in drugs. That's what the study said, the ones that I showed you guys earlier. You guys can go back and catch the replay. I broke it down. We looked at an 8-page scientific study that looked at basically men who had multiple kids. It said Black men in that study were the most likely to have multiple kids compared to other men, other races of men. And then they said those Black men who had kids were more likely to be incarcerated and were more likely to struggle with drugs. So, like I said, what that study is showing us is that these women are actually procreating with a minority of men, 32%. Again, 32% of Black fathers have multiple kids. And then those men struggle with incarceration and drugs. Like they don't display qualities that are inherent of being a good father or man. I understand Pookie can be redeemed. I'm not saying that some of those guys don't get them stuff together. But many times when those kids is being created, these ladies aren't doing it because, oh, I want this man shows that he can be a good father to my child. This man has vision. This man has good morals. He's a man of God. You know, ladies are always talking about living a man of God, but they're not choosing men of God to have their babies with. They want those men oftentimes actually after they have kids with the Pookies. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so that's what I'm saying. We're blaming Jermaine when Jermaine ain't doing this stuff. Pookie's doing this stuff. Pookie's the 32% at best. It's not Jermaine's fault. 54% of y'all is Jermaine. The 54% that ain't even got kids. And you're not even in the room. You don't even have kids. Aren't even married, aren't even in a relationship, are just trying to find a decent woman. And like I said, y'all catching strays. They're telling you.
Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It was like, we have to really start to be honest with these conversations. Yes, there are Black men out there who are doing some bad stuff and it's creating a lot of trauma in the community. And there are Black women who are also doing that and are choosing these men. If you go back and look at like the first 10 minutes of this live, I shared this video of this content creator. She does all these viral stories about jail and this Pookie life and baby daddy stuff. But she sat there and told herself and talked about how she was delusional and how when she was picking a man, she was picking a man that she thought would look cute in photos. She said that out of her mouth. She admitted it. She put her own self on blast. So I'm saying, I was like, these ladies, they have these kids, they have them really young. They're not necessarily, because some of them even have these kids super young, like before 20. In their teens or whatever. So their brain isn't thinking about like long-term vision, legacy, like, what's going to give this child the best. These are kids themselves. And then that creates a vicious cycle. So like I said, the Pookiedemic is super easy. It's a really, really easy thing to solve. We could solve the Pookiedemic if folks started marrying before they carry, that alone, and stop sleeping with Pookie. Like, it's actually a very simple fix. It is a very simple fix. It's a very simple fix. But as we see, like I said, the numbers alone don't lie. We can sit here and say all we want that Black men are doing all this stuff. They're horrible, yada, 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 and they're deadbeats or whatever. But it's like, you got Black men out here who aren't even in the, like I said, no kids. Majority of Black men in America right now don't even have kids. Right? And we're looking at the ages 15 to 49. So the majority of men who are like in marrying age, procreating age, they don't even have kids. They're not even in the conversation. So already we're starting off at a minority. And then when you start looking at the numbers, again, Black men are more married than Black women. And they have less kids than Black women, which is crazy. So it's like Black women are the least married, are less married than Black men at this age, but they got more kids. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. That is saying a whole lot. So anyways, I mean, really, that's, I can put some of the stuff down. I can put some of the stuff down in the description for those of you guys who want to go and review the stats yourself, because I've mentioned before, it is important to do your own research. I present you guys things as best as I can, and I try to make sure I'm presenting real information. But I just did I skimmed through these things. If you want to go and read through in its entirety, if you want to check the stats and the graphs, please do so. But I mean, really, like I said, the Pookiedemic is easy to solve. Stop having sex with Pookie. Marry before you carry. That would eliminate 75% of the bickering and complaining and issues we see going on in Black America today would be eliminated. If Pookie stopped having all these kids out of wedlock and the Keishas stopped choosing the Pookie. Like that would, but I'm saying it's like, we have to get to the core of what's going on, because it can't just be it's Jermaine's fault all the time. Because if we just blame Jermaine all the time, then we're actually not looking at what's going on. And what we're seeing is that there are Black women who are choosing these men. And then there are these men who are irresponsibly going around and creating these kids. And of course, we already know these men and women who are doing this themselves are oftentimes a product of that environment. A man who fathered multiple kids and multiple women is not going to be there for the children. There's likely to be children that he has that repeat his cycle because they don't know what else to do. A woman who doesn't have a father around is likely to be more sexually promiscuous. She's likely to try to find her identity in other men and other boys who show her attention. She's likely to give up the goodies too soon. Therefore, she's likely herself to get pregnant too soon and by a dude or by another child who doesn't know any better. And the cycle continues. So like I said, some of the stuff is a vicious cycle. It is, but it could be stopped. But I think before there's even these conversations about fixing these things, there has to first be an understanding of what's really going on. And we can't sit here and say that it's all Jermaine's fault. It's really not. There is there is blame to be assigned to some, and there's blame to be assigned to some Black men, but it's not all of Jermaine's fault. And there's also definitely some blame to be assigned to the Keishas, right? Like there has to be, like there has to be balance here. There has to be, and there has to be clarity on what's actually going on if there is ever to be a significant change. So, shout out to you with the 5. It says, with due respect, I don't think it will solve the bickering because they just find something else to throw Black women in the bus. Okay, I don't think I fully understand your point, but I do appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the super chat. I don't think I fully understand your point though. But yeah, you guys let me know. I hope that made sense. Like I said, as a recap for those who are hopping in, before I wrap this thing up, 32% of Black fathers, not even Black men, 32% of Black fathers have kids with multiple women. 59% of Black mothers have kids with multiple women. Again, let me just be very, 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 very clear about this. Okay. 32% of Black fathers in America have kids with multiple women. 59% of Black mothers in America have kids with multiple fathers. There's a significant difference. What we are seeing is there is a small percentage of Black men who are fathering a lot of kids. And then there is a large portion of Black women who are choosing a minority of men. That is also going on. So when we want to assign blame to Jermaine and we want to assign blame to Black men, we have to be very clear that it's a minority. And we also have to be very clear that Black women who are doing that, the Black women who are falling into that cycle, also must see the way in which they are participating in the problem. There's culpability on both sides. And like I said, if we really want to be petty, 59% of Black women are the ones doing that stuff. 59% versus 32, if you want to sit here and play tit for tat, that's a significant difference. So I hope that is clear. And yes, you said, again, 54% of Black men are like, ain't no kids. Like, they're not even in the conversation. The majority of Black men starting off with this whole deadbeat baby daddy, the majority of Black men who are in this deadbeat baby daddy situation aren't even in the conversation. Like, they're not even there because they don't have kids. They shouldn't even be in the room. So already when we're talking about deadbeat baby daddies, we're referring to a minority of men. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're so quick to assign blame to just blatant statements. It causes misunderstanding. It causes a lot of dissension. You got women who are projecting their issues on other men, projecting their issues. They're being embittered at Black men as a whole. They got trust issues with Black men as a whole, and they're not understanding that it's like, honey, that's not even all Black men. Honey, you got daddy issues. Honey, you're upset. You're sad. You know what I mean? And the end result of this propaganda, the end result of these kinds of situations, the end result of it, it's this kind of stuff.
To me. Good evening, princess. Although I am very disappointed.
Let me remove this real quick. Like this is the end result.
Behavior, I want to have lunch. Y'all, this is what my dad responded to me. Good evening, princess. Although I am very disappointed in your online behavior, I want to have lunch with you and your mother next Thursday or Friday. Please have her text me the day, time, and location for our meeting. You deserve to hear all of the truth from us together. We have much to discuss. I look forward to building the relationship with you that she never allowed us to have. With love, your father. So you decide to reach out to me because I outed you. You had all this time, you had all these chances to reach out to your daughter, but because I outed you on social media, now you want to sit down for lunch? You're a fraud. You're a hypocrite. You are everything that you say that you aren't. And you got on live responding to me, talking about some struggle stream, talking about some, oh, I'm known in North Philly. If y'all needed to find me, y'all could have found me. What do I have to find you for, sir? When you're my dad. Right? Like, now you want to have a talk because I outed you. Hold Black men accountable. Hold them accountable.
So, like I said, that ends up being the result. That ends up being the result. Notice how she mad at her daddy. She mad at her daddy. She's throwing him under the bus. And then at the end, hold black men accountable. It's like, all y'all need to be held accountable. You know what I mean? As if this is something that the majority of you guys are doing, and what we're understanding is it's not. Now, Dr. Thunder, yes, actually, one of the studies I went over, it went into that point. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but from what I remember, it did say that black men were more likely to have, when they had, if they had multiple kids, that there was also a higher percentage of those who, when they did it, they were married. And again, I'm going to put the sources in here because there was like 3 or 4 different things. Like I briefly skimmed through it, but there was one in particular you might find useful. It was like 8 pages. And then it broke it down and looked at compared it to different races. And then it compared by age. And then it compared like, okay, single versus not, looked at incarceration. So I'll put that in the description. But yes, I do understand. But then even without having like the raw necessarily numbers there, I mean, we can go back and we can, come to some basic assumptions based upon the fact that there are, again, 300,000 more black women. But even with that, there are over 500,000 more black men who are married. So black men in general, we know already are more married, although there are less black women. I'm sorry. Black men by and large are more married, although there are less black men. There are a lot more married than black women are out the gate. And so that is likely to persuade the numbers some, but I can send it to you. Okay, so that's what I have. A lot we covered off today, you guys. I wanted to, again, provide you guys some resources. I'll put it in the description. I got Black demographics. There was like 3 or 4 reports. If you guys want to go and do your own research, like I said, I always recommend that. I always recommend you doing your own research, so you're not just running with propaganda, which is so common to do online. But like I said, really the main point of this slide is not to sit here and say that men don't have any responsibilities. Obviously they do. That's obviously men have responsibilities, but it's to make it very clear that we should not and cannot blame the entirety of black men for things that a minority of men are doing. When 54% of black men aren't even in the conversation starting off with fatherhood because they don't even have kids. So the majority of black men aren't even in the conversation. They ain't got kids. By the age of 50, they don't have kids yet. So they're not even in the deadbeat baby daddy situation. The deadbeat baby daddy conversation, they're not even there. So why are we blaming the majority of black men when they don't even have kids like that? And then, like I said, of those fathers who do, 32% of them, like I said, have kids with multiple women. And of course, like you mentioned that, Dr. Thunder alluded to that. Okay, what percentage of those were married and then, had kids when they were married and then left or things like that happen. And so those numbers do matter. But there was a correlation of those 32%. They said there was a correlation between drug use and incarceration, and the study that I went over earlier. So yeah, I definitely recommend that you check it out. Thank you guys for joining. If you found this useful, be sure to like, share, subscribe, pass it along to somebody that you think may find it helpful. Check out the sources yourself. Let me know what you guys think. You can email me or hit me up or let me know what you think about some of the information, or if you yourself have sources that you think are really helpful, be sure to do so. Also, be sure to check out my new book I'm about to drop. It's Not Jermaine's Fault, which is all about empowering young Black boys to understand anti-Black misandry, how that looks. And ultimately starting to have text that speaks to them, because we already understand that, unfortunately, the reading level is super low for Black boys in America. And I think one of the reasons is because there is just not material that is meant to address their experience. So be sure to check that out. And check out my store. It's not Jermaine's fault. It's really not. And thank you guys so much for hanging out. And you guys have a good Friday, okay? Bye.
It's a man's fault, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud and bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with a Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubters, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. They came the neighborhood up, dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side, they set the record straight with humor and pride. In the dating game and gender wars where opinions clash and play, Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry, black men rise above it all, reaching up into the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud of bold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Miss Andre tried to put him down with her Miss Andre vibe, but Jermaine flipped the script, now watch him thrive. In a classroom of doubts, his spirit never fell. Every harsh word turned to beats that made him rebel. Then came the neighborhood bump, dropping wisdom like a rhyme. Challenged that old Miss Andre said, not on my time. With his wife Mia Swahili for strength and grace by his side, they set the record straight with humor and pride. Game and gender wars where opinions clash and play, Jermaine and his crew keep it smooth, dancing hate away from awkward first dates to the battle of the hearts. They flip the script with funky vibes and soulful art. Talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry, black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see. Black kings rising high in our own destiny. Moving through the storm, proud of gold we stand. Shining like gold, love's in command.
Let them talk, let them squabble, we're too fly to be confined. Every snide remark just fuels the fire of our mind. With laughter as our armor and pride, our battle cry, black men rise above it all, reaching up to the sky.
Fall, let the whole world see.